A photographer's final moments are spent capturing a deadly volcanic eruption. A group of hikers captured their final moments without realizing it, and a tourist snaps a picture just before the deadliest tsunami in history strikes. These are disturbing photos recovered after disasters. On May 18, 1980, a photographer named Robert Landsburg was out near Mount St. Helens doing what he'd been doing for weeks, documenting the volcano, snapping photos of the mountain slowly building pressure. But that morning, everything changed in seconds. The entire side of the volcano collapsed, and a massive wall of ash and superheated gas came ripping toward him at insane speed. At first, he did what anyone else would do. He ran. But when it became obvious he wasn't going to outrun this thing, he decided to spend his final moments doing what he loved: photographing. Frame by frame, you see the cloud getting closer. It starts off in the distance, then it's bigger, darker, swallowing the sky, and by the last photo, it's basically right on top of him. And then Robert did something absolutely incredible. I mean, he knew he was about to die, but somehow he had the wherewithal to not just drop the camera. He took the film out, he sealed it, put it in his backpack, and then laid on top of it to protect it with his own body. He wanted to make sure his photos would survive, and they did. 17 days later, they found him buried in ash. The film was intact. So these images are basically snapshots of Robert's final moments from his point of view. I can't think of anything else like that. In February 1959, a group of 9 experienced hikers set up camp on a snowy slope in the Ural Mountains. These were not amateurs. They knew exactly what they were doing. But sometime during the night, something made them panic. They cut their way out of their tent from the inside and ran out into the freezing dark. Undressed, barefoot, no time to grab anything apparently. When search teams finally found the site, their tents were still there, sliced open. The bodies of the hikers were in various states, but it looked like they'd all died violently. Along with the remains were the photos the hikers took. Most of them were normal, smiling, hiking, setting up camp, but then you get to the last roll, and there's one image people always talk about. It shows this tall, shadowy figure standing in the distance. It's blurry, it's human-shaped, but almost feels off, and it was one of the last images captured before the incident would have taken place, whatever that incident was. Now, some people think this is just one of the hikers, but others wonder if this figure wasn't part of the group, possibly responsible for the attack. And some wonder if it isn't even human at all, that it was a Yeti-type creature. In April 1912, a priest named Francis Browne boarded the Titanic for the first part of its journey. He was traveling and taking photos like he always did, and he took a lot of them. People laughing on deck, kids playing, passengers relaxing. He had no idea what was about to happen, and how could they? They were on an unsinkable ship after all. Browne photographed the dining rooms, the gymnasium, crew members in the wireless room, the exact place where distress signals would later be sent out into the night. His photographs likely would have been lost if he'd stayed on the ship. Lucky for him, he didn't. When the Titanic stopped in Queenstown, the last stop on the ship's route to New York, he stepped off and took one last photo of the ship as it pulled away. That image ended up being one of the final photos ever taken of it above water. Bill Biggart was a freelance photojournalist in New York. On September 11, 2001, he heard about the first plane hitting the World Trade Center and immediately grabbed his cameras and ran straight toward downtown. He was photographing while walking, moving closer and closer to the towers as smoke started pouring into the sky. By the time he reached ground zero, he was basically inside the chaos. Firefighters were everywhere, debris was in the air, and then the South Tower collapsed. He called his wife, assuring her that he was okay, he was with firefighters, but that would be the last time she ever spoke to him. His final image was taken just seconds before the North Tower came down. Biggart's body was discovered 4 days after the attacks, along with his cameras buried in the rubble. One of them still had a memory card inside, and all the images he captured were recovered. For about 70 years, a collection of photos were sitting in an apartment in Moscow, and nobody knew they existed. They were taken by a guy named Valery Faminsky, who was a photographer for the Red Army during World War II. In 1945, he was right there in the middle of the Battle of Berlin, documenting the final collapse of the city. But instead of taking the typical heroic shots you see in history books, he was capturing the everyday grim realities of the war. The photos show the city looking like a total wasteland, people scavenging for food in the ruins, wounded soldiers, crumbling buildings. After Faminsky died, his family was cleaning out his place and found these hidden rolls of film. When they finally got them developed and archived in 2016, it was a huge deal because it showed a side of the war that was usually censored, just candid, raw moments. Pictured here is Deborah Garlick, who was the last picture taken on her camera before the deadliest tsunami in history. On the morning of December 26, 2004, a massive earthquake hit off the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia. It was a 9.1 magnitude, one of the strongest ever recorded, and it lasted for almost 10 minutes. The force was so huge, it actually caused the entire planet to vibrate. But the real destruction didn't come from the shaking, it came from the water. The shift in the ocean floor pushed up this massive wall of water and started racing toward the Indian Ocean at the speed of a jet plane. When the waves finally hit the shore, there was almost no warning. In many places, the water actually pulled back from the beach first, leaving fish flopping on the sand, and then people went out to look because they're like, what the hell's going on here? They had no idea that a series of waves up to 100 feet high were about to hit. The tsunami hit 14 different countries, from Indonesia and Thailand all the way to the coast of Africa. By the time it was over, around 230,000 people were gone. It remains one of the deadliest natural disasters in history. The image you're looking at here was captured on September 25, 1978. Pacific Southwest Airlines Flight 182 was coming to land over San Diego. It was a normal, clear morning. At the same time, a small Cessna was flying in the same area. Air traffic control warned the PSA crew about it, and they said they had it in sight. But in those last few seconds, they lost track of where it actually was. Then, out of nowhere, the two planes collided mid-air. The smaller plane was instantly destroyed. The 727 lost part of its wing, and fuel started pouring out. That's the exact moment the photo captures. A photographer named Hans Wendt just happened to be pointing his camera at the sky and snapped it right after the impact. You can literally see the plane starting to fall apart in real time. Seconds later, it went down into a neighborhood below. A total of 144 people were killed, including people on the ground. On August 6, 1945, the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima detonated about 600 meters above the city. The blast was so intense, it didn't just destroy buildings. In some places, it left behind what people now call shadows. Silhouettes burned into the concrete. The heat and radiation bleached the surrounding stone and concrete, so anything that blocked the blast, even for a split second, left a dark imprint behind. One of the most well-known examples is a figure sitting on steps outside a bank. The heat near the explosion was insane, estimated to be around 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit. There was no chance of survival at that distance. It would have been instant. To this day, nobody knows who this person was. All we have is this ghostly silhouette left behind, often referred to as the human shadow, etched in stone. That section of concrete is now housed at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum in Japan. Pictured here is the body of a mountain climber often referred to as Green Boots. In 1996, a deadly storm hit Mount Everest. Multiple climbers were caught near the summit in whiteout conditions, extreme cold, and they had almost no oxygen. Among them was a member of an Indian expedition believed to be a man named Tsunami Palijor. Somewhere near the top, around 8,500 meters up, he stopped in a small alcove, probably to rest, and never got back up. His body is still there, frozen in place, curled slightly, still wearing all his gear, including his bright green mountaineering boots. To this day, anyone who gets this far up Everest will pass right by him. You just can't avoid it. The cave sits right along the main route to the summit. He's become a kind of landmark on the route. You know how far you've gotten when you see him. But he's not alone. There are roughly 200 corpses still frozen up on Everest. And that's been the video. I will catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next one.